Hello, friends, and welcome to the Monday night planning for TEOTWAWKI book discussion. We're going a little bit more in depth with James Wesley Rawles' book. In my opinion, one of the best overall preparedness books there are. How to Survive the End of the World as We Know It. Tactics, Techniques, and Technologies for Uncertain Times. We're doing chapter 2. We're doing a little bit more extensive look into chapter 2. We've already done the entire book. Strongly recommend that you grab a copy of it and add it to your library. Fantastic resource book. I have decided what I want to do for the next book after we finish our Tuesday night book. And then we've probably got 2 more weeks with it, this week and then next week, tomorrow night, and then the next following night. But we're going to remember we're doing away with the Tuesday night. So I'm probably going to move the Tuesday night to Monday night temporarily. But I would really like for you all to get volume 1 of the Guerrilla Dispatch by NC Scout. And he has a YouTube channel here as well. We'll probably take a look at the first 3 chapters. Chapter 1, he gets into a little bit of what he calls SIGINT. I would call it SIG-SEC more than SIGINT, but then he gets into thermal camouflage, and we'll talk about chapter 1, basically no encryption, no problem, analog radio operations for guerrilla units, and then chapter 2, the Minuteman's Guide to Thermal Camouflage. Chapter 3, thermal camouflage, the Jaeger rig. Jaeger is the German word for hunter. So we'll try to start working on NC Scout's book. So far I'm impressed with it. A lot of times field units think they know SIGINT, signals intelligence, and those who have done signals intelligence, we look at it a little bit different than what the typical grunt units do. So I would call it SIG-SEC. He's calling it SIGINT, but then we can talk about SIGINT in a totally different vein. So let's. I saw that Rebecca was here. Always good to see you, Rebecca. I'm going to assume that John is sitting there next to her. Then we have Shenanigans. Shenanigans, I sure pray that we still have good news, that everything is well with your property there at the fire in California. Little Lone Prepper showed up. Good to see her as well. Little Lone Prepper, thank you. I went over and checked out that link you gave me. I think it was you, to view on Steve Poplar's channel. I did not. He really surprised me. He has a Texas flag up. I never realized he had a Texas flag up, that he was a Texan. But then again, I'm not getting the notices, my subscription to him. And I really like Steve Poplar's channel. Well, that's a great question, Tuck by V, because we've had a couple major things happen that I would say the wife and I are going to Walmart and Sam's Club tomorrow because of them. But certainly, and I don't know where we'll put the stuff if we get anything, but certainly the Israeli Hezbollah Lebanon issue, and of course that ties in the Sunni Muslims, the Iranians, Persians as well. So that's going to be, has the opportunity to really blow up in the very near future. The other one is that there was an announcement that the Storm Shadow long range, we would call it short range ballistic missile, but it's a long range tactical missile. Well, aren't we cursing pennies here? So you got this thing that can go, this is intercontinental and long range, right? Intercontinental. So it's a short intercontinental. But then again, if you take a look at tactical starts down at this end, so we can call it a long tactical. It doesn't matter whether you call it short ballistic or long tactical. It's pretty much right there in that center, that separation line between tactical and strategic. So, but anyhow, Storm Shadow and U.S., not the HIMARS, but the anyhow, Putin said that if we use either one, that's basically a declaration of war by the West. So, that has a very good opportunity for an escalation, at least for Putin to attack NATO. So, yeah, I took by V. That's a very good question. I think that we are on. If we were to consider it a seesaw, I think the seesaw has definitely gone to that side where now we're going to have momentum going downhill very quickly. So I'm not optimistic at all. Hello, Utah Mike. Good to see you as well. So Shenanigans says she's going to send me a picture of her property in California. Remember her property was right there in the line of that major fire. So we were praying that she wouldn't lose it, and evidently all of our prayers worked. So thank you very much for that support that you gave her. Let me see who else here. Rebecca already has the book. I would have guessed. I would have guessed that. You are one of those who really finds the good sources and hones in on them and really applies them to your homestead. So, and so I mean that with all seriousness. That if there's a great book out there, what I ought to do is just have Rebecca tell us which books we need to do next for the both the fiction as well as the nonfiction. Now remember, the fiction book we're going to do. I think it's on Wings of Eagles. Is the next volume in the series by Stephen Smith in the Stowmont series. We're delaying that. We're not going to do it in September. We're going to put it off until November, the last Thursday in November. Or is it? I think it's the 21st. So the Thursday before Thanksgiving. We hope to have that done. Kaylin Strain, good evening. Welcome. Good to see you. I'm sorry I missed your live Sunday. Apologize for that. Scott Hummer, welcome. Good to see you. All right. Mother Earth Garden Club, Northern Girl Hobbies, Cats and Prepping, Diana too. I guess Gil's live just finished. Scott Hummer. Teresa Buchanan, good evening. Good to see you. Muskoka Oma, I was supposed to pass on. Let me get into my email here real quick. Why am I signed out? Oh gosh, let's see here. Somebody asked me to pass on their best wishes and that they are okay. And at 72, my memory is only about 5 minutes. Pat, so you know who Pat is, and but she asked that I pass on her best wishes to you. Muskoka Oma, that's okay. You're here for now, and we're very happy with that, and we'll take it. So, anytime you're here to add your valuable comments, that's a great time for us. Thank you very much for being here. Yeah, absolutely. So the vast majority, I'm going to say 90% are Shia, and then 10%, the Persian branch, if you will, are Sunni. And then there are some enclaves of Sunni throughout. So that's also the difference between Hezbollah and Hamas. Hamas is primarily Shia, and Hezbollah is Sunni. Now, here's how you can tell the difference looking at them. A lot of times they're going to give you stuff on TV, and they really don't pay attention to what they're talking about. So if you look at the headdress, okay, so typically Hamas, Shia, are going to wear a scarf basically as a headdress, and I've forgotten the name for it. We had them in the army. They issued them to us. But then if you take a look at the Sunnis, the Persians, they're going to have kind of like a turban, and that's going to be their predominant headdress. And then the Saudis, which are a form of Shia, but royal and all that kinds of stuff, they have basically a hat with a rope or a cord holding that hat on with a veil that goes behind them. So you can pretty much tell which denomination, let's call it, of Islam a person is by the headdress that they're wearing. Now, once you get outside of the Middle East, that kind of falls apart. The Afghanis, for example, wear traditional headdress that is totally separate from that. When you get west of the Suez Canal, that also falls apart. They have their traditional headdress, but most of them are going to wear shema. There we go. Shemagh is shema. Is what you'll typically see the Shia wearing. Okay. Well, I emailed my, or I didn't email. What do you call it on the portal? Yeah, portal messaged my my pulmonologist. I had my follow-up appointment with him here last 2 weeks ago. He put me on prednisone and another antibiotic, and it just did not work. So I messaged him over the weekend. I was hoping to get a response today and a new prescription today, but didn't happen. So I guess it's going to happen tomorrow. This is, for those of you who smoke, this is what happens to you later on in life. So did I have that backwards? I'm sorry, Kaylin. I guess I had it flipped. I'm a Russian intelligence analyst. You can probably tell. So I'm not that attuned to it. And as a matter of fact, they were trying to turn me into a Korean analyst, and I thought that wasn't going to work out too well after 21 years as a Russian analyst. Oh, thank you, Diana, too. That's a great explanation. Thank you. Hello, Holly. Welcome. Good to see you. So let me see here. Let me catch up on this. Thank you, Little Lone Prepper, for that. That's he does. He has a great channel. I think there's nothing better in life than reading. Oh, yes, there is. 70s music. So 60s and 70s music. Yeah, that 60s, but the two of them combined together extremely well. Although I have found myself singing to the book, but oh well. Oh, okay. So I didn't miss it. Okay, great. I was afraid I had failed, but I was kind of tired. Went to a class Saturday. It was supposed to be a 5-hour class on chapters 1, 2, and 3 of the general license ham license class, and this is from ARRL. And instead of being 5 hours, it ended up being 7 hours. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I can continue to do that. I can't, my body is not designed for that. So we'll see if that continues or not. Oh, so the name and author of my next fiction book is going to be, I think it's volume 7, On Wings of Eagles, by Stephen Smith, Stephen C. Smith, and the C stands for Craig, in case you're interested. And we'll be doing that one in November. So his series is called the Stonemont series. Primarily takes place in actually think of it as Kansas City. He gets as far west as Junction City, and gets into the Topeka area. He moves a little bit down southeast into the Ozarks and southwest into the Texas Panhandle. But that's the primary area of his focus as far as his stuff. So I take this is PRN, and it basically looks like this. So this is what I keep in my pocket. This one The pulmonologist said that this kind of causes all of the albuterol, basically is what it is, pro-air, but it's albuterol, to really get where I can focus it into my lungs. I have a nebulizer over there with albuterol sulfate in it. Then I do Advair, 1 puff twice a day. And then I do Spiriva, 1 puff twice a day. So it's coming up time to do my evening puffs for all 3 of these. And I still have to do my 15-minute albuterol treatment. But, that's the grew up with asthma. Smoking was not a good choice. The 2 of them combined is terrible. So, okay. So Scott Hummer says that it's the 7th book. Okay, great. And Holly Ivans is with me with the bad lungs. So Mulane was recommended to me, I believe, by either Rebecca or Sue Me, and said that it's as an expectorant, basically to clear mucus out of the lungs. So I ordered some from Amazon. We shall see what that does. I have full, what we call it, confidence that we're going to have something here, because homeopathic things are not normally recommended by doctors. So Michelle Mitten, prepper veteran, hello, good evening, welcome. So glad to see you as well. Our Dollar Tree here in town is closing down. I hate thrush. Oh gosh. Okay, let me see. Okay, so let's get into this planning like we're supposed to. We're 20 minutes into the show. Okay, so we want to talk a little bit about gardening, the gardening checklist. So one important item for your gardening list is a very tall deer-proof and rabbit-proof fence. So make sure you have plenty of fencing that you're going to keep around whatever you're going to be using as a garden. Now, I don't want you to get your expectations up. With most backyards in suburbia or in urban America, you are not going to be able to grow enough to sustain your family. It's going to be supplemental. You're going to have to find something else. Now, if you're in an urban area, yes. If you have a homestead, then yes, you should count on gardening being one of your primary sources of food. But you've got to protect it against predators. Now, the predators are going to be both 2-legged and 4-legged, okay? So make sure you have that. One of my biggest predators here with my garden in my backyard are the birds. So I take old CDs and hang them from the beams. And then for some reason, the reflecting CDs, as they dangle in the wind, kind of scare most of the birds away from my tomatoes and other valuable crops. But I just want you to be aware, you're going to need to have supplemental foods, but they aren't going to sustain you. You got to have other plans. Maybe that means that as other people around you leave, bug out one way or leave another way, you might, kind of acquire their backyards so that you can have sustainability. But anyhow, make sure you have topsoil. I've got about 6 bags of topsoil back here. Amendments, that's, things to add to your topsoil. And so, that can be compost. It can be manure, anything like that that's going to enrich the overall value of your soil, as well as artificial chemical fertilizers. I stay away from chemical fertilizers, especially in my I've got to do a daytime. One of these days I'll have to do a daytime live and move this board and then let you see straight through. You can see my tower garden, and that's where I do most of my vegetables and stuff. Gardening tools and spares. Now, don't forget to take good care of them. So you're going to need rust remover. You're going to need some sort of a good cleaning compound. You're going to need some sort of a good non-toxic oil to keep them from rusting. I like linseed oil to use on the handles and stuff to keep them from cracking, separating. Nothing like getting a splinter from a cracked handle. in your hand while you're working with a shovel or a pitchfork or something like that. So make sure you take good care of your tools at the same time. So when we say, anytime I say tools, also think maintenance of those tools. You might need for some of them, you might need a file to sharpen them or something like that. Long-term storage, non-GMO seeds. So you need open pollinated, non-hybrid, and then herbs. Get started with medicinal herbs: aloe vera for burns, echinacea, valerian. I am really, really into oregano. I think oregano is a fantastic herb to use. So that's kind of where it is for gardening. Let me catch up with the chat and see what you all have said. Let me get my glasses off so I can see longer and instead of my reading glasses, and I'm way behind in the chat. So I assume we're talking here about quitting smoking. And yeah, I quit in 2015, 9 years ago. I started in 1970. So 45 years I smoked, and at least a pack a day, and not good at all. Don't recommend it. What got me to quit was I was working at the homeless shelter. I was the HR director for the Austin Resource Center for the Homeless, the Arch. Very famous. It's one of the top 5 homeless shelters in the U.S. And I got in the elevator, and there was a guy in the elevator with MRSA pneumonia. So I caught MRSA pneumonia from him. And when you're in an ICU on a ventilator for 3 weeks, you stop smoking. Just, one of those man-made interventions. If I had all the money back that I'd spent on hypnosis tapes and gums and medicines and everything else, I'd be a rich person. But I just didn't have the willpower. So finally, a medically induced fix got me taken care of, and haven't had any. I've still got. I transferred them when my Kia got totaled with a hailstorm. I bought a Toyota pickup, so I transferred the glove box from the Kia to my pickup, and there's still a half a pack of cigarettes from when I was hospitalized that were in the glove compartment of my Kia that are now in the glove compartment of my Tacoma and have no urge whatsoever. So that's really great. And then Helen quit smoking 5 years ago, just before 6 years ago, just before our grandson was born. So she did it the hard way. I guess mine was rather easy. Mine didn't take any willpower whatsoever, any self-control. I was forced to do it. So Rebecca says there's a tincture you can add to water. So I was reading, and go off onto religion for a very short while. I was reading I just took it back to my office. I was reading in this fantastic book that I bought about the Old Testament and trying to explain how things were compared to now. And one of the things that's really strange is that we interpret now from the old law is on the Sabbath, if you get enjoyment or pleasure from it, if it cause you purpose to relax, then you're allowed to do it. So like in the old days, it would have been gardening would have been an all-in-all sin. Nowadays, gardening, because it's a release from the pressures of the world, can be considered as allowable under the Torah. So let's see what's setting off my alarm on the front porch. A cat. Okay. Yeah, I think I've said almost every show. A real good gardening show is Epic Gardening, and he did his entire backyard as wheat one year, and that wheat crop made him 1.5 loaves of bread. So it's just Just not something you can count on. Okay. One of the things that I do emphasize that I want to emphasize, let me say, I haven't done it yet, but I want to emphasize is make sure that you learn how to can and practice canning some things now. It's not as critical now because we have store-bought canned items. We have all kinds of stuff. And I think people do it for a hobby. People do it because they might have large crops if they're farmers and in a totally rural environment. But it's going to be a necessity in the near future. If you don't have access to the stores, you don't have access to purchased goods, canned goods, and things like that, and you do have leftover crop, you're going to have to can it in order to store it and keep it for a long time. So Michelle talks about hydroponics. Yeah, that's something we need to definitely take a look into. Aquaponics, hydroponics. I had a hydroponic system when we lived in Arizona, and I loved it. And it got broken moving to Texas, and there's just oh poo poo. So, Rebecca says they've had more problems with groundhogs and bugs than anything else. Oh, what a great idea. Great idea. Yeah, add peat moss, have it, a couple bags of it back in the backyard. Yeah, that would be great. Let me see. Mother Earth, I will have to check that out. Let me go here. Can I? No, I can't. Can I here? I know what I can do. I can click on that. No, I can't. I'll have to come back and do it later. I want to subscribe to that. How often do you oil tools with wooden parts? I try to linseed oil my wooden shafts probably twice over the course of the summer, and then I don't use them in the winter. So I'm going to call it twice a year, but it's heavily focused towards spring, summer. Well, that makes sense because you're basically using the sand as an abrasive, while at the same time you're using the oil as a protectant. So that makes sense. I can understand that. I'll have to try that. In Boy Scouts, we use sand to clean our cookware and then rinse out the sand. So that I can see how that would work. That makes very good sense. Unfortunately, we don't have sand here in Texas. As a matter of fact, our topsoil is maybe a maximum of 2 inches thick. On this side of the interstate, for some reason, Interstate 35 is kind of like a dividing line. On this side, we're a little bit deeper than on the other side. On the west side, I mean, the transition between fertile and desert is I-35. And on the west side, it's desert. On the east side, we're a little bit fertile. And then as you get maybe 18 miles east of here, it's really fertile. They've got great topsoil. Cotton like you would not believe. Cotton, maize, or corn, soybean. What else do they grow out there? Sorghum. So there are some good crops just 18 miles east of here. Really good fertile land. As a matter of fact, supposedly the land that is now under Lake Granger at one time was one of the most fertile cotton farms in the U.S. Yeah, everybody take a look into herbs and medicinal gardens. I mean, that is something you definitely want to take a look at. Holly says that stopping smoking was the hardest choice in her life. Felt like my best friend I was giving it. Yeah, and so one of the things I noticed was I had to get some fiddlesticks for my fingers because I like to, the fiddling of it, and then the clicking of the lighter and things like that. So there are certain habits you get into, and so my fingers had to stay busy, and afterwards, and it's kind of still. I think the biggest thing, the two biggest things I missed was usually when I went out back to smoke, Helen would go with me. So the two of us would go together, and there was a chance to sit, drink a cup of coffee, and talk. And then when my dad came over, same thing. The three of us would go out back, cup of coffee, cigarette, and just a chance to sit down and talk. And so that part is missing. The social aspect of it is missing. But, make do with other things, right? What do you miss most about smoking?
Going out back to relax.
So she says going out back to relax. So that's probably that's like I said, the social aspect of it, and the even in a sense the privacy. When I was working, you had to go to a different area and so just being alone, away from all the people with all the HR complaints that they had and everything else. That was an opportunity to get away from it all. So. So Kaylin says bugs she can't see are the main threat to her plants, like aphids and things like that underneath. I had some tomato weevils. This has been a terrible year for tomatoes.
We know that was the tomato bud end rot or something.
And then we also had tomato bud end rot or something like that. It was the bottom of the tomato would rot on the vine. And so we had to take care of that. And then we've only had one tomato so far this year, and we've got two more that are showing up late in the season. For our plants, that's terrible. We're having a terrible tomato season. I'm sorry?
They're huge.
And they are huge. Yeah, the two tomato plants are taking over the entire patio.
They were big ones.
So
I'm going to go out.
sue me. I'm still. You told me that, and I still would love to see that recipe. That sounds so tasty. Yes, absolutely. And so they call that the natives call it what, the Trinity or something like that. Corn or okra is a stalk plant, and then bean plant to go up around it, and then squash for a ground cover, so that you have. And each one is symbiotic. So each one's waste is what another one wants as a nutrient, and so it's just really great. No, Holly, we don't have clay soil. I have rock soil. You've got. Let me pretend to be smart here. I'm going to look up alluvial so I can pretend like I know what I'm talking about. Alluvial is loose clay, silt, sand, or gravel that has been deposited by running water in a stream. No, we have solid granite underneath of us, just granite and rock. It's as a matter of fact, there's a humongous rock quarry just north of us. What is it, Georgetown Round Rock or something like that? I forget. But it's a huge rock quarry, and they blast it and turn it into rocks and gravel. But a friend of mine owns a gravel quarry up in just west of Waco. So that there's a lot of gravel up there. Here it's primarily granite underneath. Yeah, something just the crocheting. I can see how that keeps your hands busy. Yep, I understand that. Blossom end rot. There we go. Magnesium and or calcium deficiency. Yeah, so we got some. I went and talked to my local arborist and or whatever you call him, the owner of the local the nursery, and he gave us some special stuff for it. And yeah, it got rid of it, but and it turned the plant brown for a while. And then I snipped off what was brown, and they gave the opportunity for everything else to come back, and it came back. I mean, it grew like you would not believe. And so we have potted plants, and as a matter of fact, they've grown so much that the pots, the roots for the pots have gone down into the ground, and now the pot I'm going to have to cut the pot away. But the fantastic, humongous plants just no fruits. So I've got to get a different fertilizer now for the fruits. Utah Mike says the opposite. Okay, he's got a great tomato year. Okay. Yeah, so we don't, most of mine are going to be either in bags or pots because we just don't have the topsoil here to do anything. Yeah, I thought I corrected myself on that. Thank you. Did Darlene come in? So Darlene, the good news is I met Darlene this last weekend. Pretty prepper. Good evening. Yeah, Darlene did. So Darlene, I met this weekend at that class I told you about that ran overtime. So yeah, I was very lucky. I had a person on my left, and I had another one, Sharon, on my right, who both watched the channel. So here I am out in this training, and I've got people on either side of me who watch the channel. So thank you so much. It made me feel great. I felt protected. Okay, new topic, hygiene and sanitation. So get a couple sacks of powdered lime for the outhouse. You're going to have to dig an outhouse. We can't dig here. I'm going to dump them. There's a dump up the road, which is away from our water source, which is great. Even if it rains and it washes downhill, it will not wash down into the outhouse. So yes, cat litter, lime, sawdust, all those things you're going to need for your outhouse management system. Toilet paper in quantity. As a matter of fact, I just put out it was either yesterday or today, a video on make sure you have plenty of paper products for a short. Soap in quantity. Now, at some point, your soap's going to run out. So you're going to probably want to make sure you have, learn how to make soap with things such as ash and lime and things like that. What we have done, it may work for you, it might not. I wish there was a way I could turn off that. Helen's out dumping the trash pickup is at 5 o'clock tomorrow morning. And so she's out taking the trash cans out to the street as well as the recycle can. And so, you see, reconnect. Yeah. Oh, it's raining too. Oh my gosh, that's great. Okay. So, but yeah, that was getting to meet you all. So I've met 4 people, 5. I met 5. Rebecca and John, I'm going to count as one group. Triple G Farms, Pete up in north of Lampasas, Sumi, and then Darlene and Sharon. So I've got 5 of you. Wow, that is so phenomenal. I'm honored. Thank you. And just it's really exciting. It's great. So the rest of you need to come down. Let's go have lunch or something. But learn how to make soap. What we've done is we've invested in some concentrated soap. I don't know if Amway is still around or Melaleuca. Both of them have concentrated soaps. So you can buy a quart bottle. Then you add like 1 tablespoon of that to a quart and then add the rest with water. So they don't have any surfactants or anything, the chemicals that bond the soap, so that you can make that go a lot further. I would recommend you consider getting a couple bottles of some sort of concentrated soap like that, that you can use to stretch your overall soap over time. And then I've also found some hand sanitizer. I bought a system when we were locked down under the coronavirus that you can basically make a form of hand sanitizer. It's not alcohol based, but it is a chemical that you can mix in these bottles and basically from common elements. And you can have a hand sanitizer that way. It was a little bit on the thin side, but it worked. Make sure you stock up on rubbing alcohol. That's one of the primary components of a good hand sanitizer. So Holly says that at least Melaleuca is still around, and that they are all American made.
But Melaleuca, you have to buy it kind of bootleg, or you have to
Or you have to what?
join.
Oh, so Helen says that Melaleuca is kind of a membership program. So you either have to bootleg it on eBay or Etsy or something like that, or you have to join and have a regular obligatory subscription to buying stuff. Monthly amount that you buy. Amway, I don't think is that way if they're still in business. Helen says you can drop out at any time. I guess that's the Melaleuca. It used to be that way. Okay, so soap. Bottle lye for soap making. So lye plus wood ash equals soap. Make sure you have plenty of feminine hygiene supplies, toothpaste or tooth powder. One of the best things you can have that you can stock up on is baking soda, or is it baking powder? Somebody here knows more about that than I do. But one of them, I think it's baking soda, can be used as a toothpaste, as a soap. It can be used so many different ways. Okay, so Northern Girl Hobbies says that yes. Okay, baking soda is right. Okay, good. Thank you. So she opted out of Melaleuca because she had to commit to spending a whole bunch of money every month, a pile of money. So yes. So Amway is still in full business, and baking soda is the one. Yeah. And I clicked on that, but I got the other one. So baking soda is where you want to have plenty of. And tea tree oil from Melaleuca is phenomenal. I agree. You can also get tea tree oil from Young Living as a concentrate. What do you call it? An essential oil. There we go. Make sure you get plenty of floss for your teeth, fluoride rinse, sunscreen. I'm going to add to that, make sure you have plenty of insect repellent. I like to have, Helen, what is that we use for insect repellent that is also a skin oil? Elta. So Elta MD is both a skin moisturizer and a 45 SPF. But once again, it's a little bit on the expensive side. Rebecca says that I'm assuming this is baking soda. Is all she uses for her teeth, hair, and a mild exfoliate. So I can't keep up here. Oh, let me get up here. There we go. So I don't lose it. Use baking soda and vinegar for far apart so that they don't chemically interact. I saw another one this morning. I've got to find it again, but basically it was two common chemicals. Put them in water and then throw aluminum foil into it, and it goes boom. I've got to find that again. Yeah, that's what we used to have in our C rations for tooth. So one end was pointed so you could kind of get in between your teeth, and the other end you could chew down on it, and it kind of separated the fibers, and you could use it as a toothbrush. So yes, that's a very fantastic thing to have. Bruce Graves, good evening, welcome, good to see you. DDT, DEET are both great to have. Holly Ivan says hello, Helen. Let me see. Mother Earth New Garden Club says she makes her own laundry soap. We have to be very careful because so most of mine is going to be 100% natural stuff because of my allergies to formaldehyde and formoterol, which are the most common items used to preserve stuff. So if I use formaldehyde or formoterol, my body just breaks out like you would not believe. I don't know what they're going to do to me to embalm me.
You won't care.
I won't. Okay, so that's where we are. That's those two chapters. So tomorrow night, we probably are going. Let me see what we're going to do here. We grab this book. So tomorrow night, Crisis Preparedness Guide. We've got. We'll be discussing 9 additional considerations: children and pets, pest control, why bartering is a bad idea, and I happen to agree with that. Building relationships with your neighbors. Learn to do with less or do without. Unnecessary supplies and actions. We're going to have to prioritize. I have a feeling it's going to hit the fan here. I'm going to say probably definitely by the end of October. And what to do if you can't financially afford to prepare. So next week on Tuesday evening, let me see. We will still be here. Tuesday is the 1st of October. I think, yeah, we will still be here, I believe. Let me check my calendars. I think we'll still be here on the 20th. Borax, that's what it was. Borax plus... I want to say lime plus aluminum foil causes a chemical reaction that is not fun. Texas Redleg, good evening. Good to see you, my friend. So anyhow, I ordered borax from a bag of borax, which can also be used for soap from Azure Standard. I'll put my Azure Standard link in here. If you order from Azure Standard, I get a $25. Just your first order. I don't get a percentage or anything else. Just if you order once, I get $25 coupon to apply towards my next purchase of Azure Standard. And one of the things, a new product they have is the Uco beeswax candles. So I have an Uco candelier. I think I've shown it a couple of times. I have 2 of them. I have 2 single candles. I love their 12-hour beeswax candles. Just love them to death. And so that's primarily what I have. That's what we're going to use for lanterns. One of our primary sources of light in a post-apocalyptic world. Stephen Smith, the author, and I strongly recommend his channels as well. Integrative Preparedness put out a video this morning. He says, that the things that we have going on, coupled with the longshoremen strike. So the longshoremen along the East Coast are about ready to go on strike, and that's going to affect our overall importation of stuff. And he said that, remember what happened last time that we had problems getting ships in and getting them unloaded during the lockdown. And that was primarily stuff coming across the Pacific so a lot of the high-tech stuff, people panicked. We couldn't get toilet paper. We couldn't get hand sanitizer. Get that stuff now. Go ahead. And I think that's a very good suggestion. Go out and pick up a little bit extra hand sanitizer, hand soap, and toilet paper now before the mass panic hits. But I don't think I don't think the shipping is going to affect us the same way as the shipping from the Pacific did. Most of our high-tech stuff comes from the across the Pacific. Okay, so computer pieces, boards, manufactured stuff. We had a hard time getting those. As a matter of fact, I had a hard time getting a motherboard for my photocopier at my store because it was on a boat that had not been unloaded in the harbor. Most of the stuff we get from Europe are going to be kind of some foodstuffs, as well as automobiles. The number 1 export of Germany to the U.S. is automobiles. But if you take a look at a lot of the other stuff, olives, and chickpeas and other things that are predominantly grown over there and come over here. The Germans call it rapeseed oil. We call it another name because we don't like the name rape. So, we call it something else, but canola oil is what we call it. But anyhow, those things are going to be in short supply. So I'm going to say focus on toilet paper, focus on hand sanitizer and soap, and focus on foodstuffs. There's also a predicted food shortage coming. So make sure that you get up on that. Let me see here. Let me catch up, go back here. And I noticed that Texas Red Leg is reiterating what we said earlier. Don't forget your dental stuff. And yes, so Kaylin, great suggestion, because I have found the naphtha bars. And so that I probably have 3 dozen of those bars, either the pink ones or the white ones. They have 2 different versions. But yes, wholeheartedly agree. Absolutely outstanding. The false naphtha bars are great soaps. You can use them either for your body or for laundry. So it comes in a very hard bar. You can use it, scrub your body, or you can take a knife, shave it off, and put that into your laundry and use it as a laundry soap. Very versatile. You can get them. I know I get mine at HEB, which is our local grocery store. I believe you can get them at Walmart and other stores as well. Yeah, I had some physical therapy with that, but I lost 30% of my lungs to MRSA pneumonia. They just obliterated them. What's left is a combination of COPD from smoking and then asthma from a child. So my lungs are just not in good shape. One of the number one reason I got a whole house solar system with backup battery was to keep insulin cool. And of course, that'll probably run out at some point. But the number 2 reason is because I have to sleep with oxygen. So I have a cannula and I have, I go through 4 liters of oxygen. And so, and then I have to take my pulse ox 2 or 3 times a day. You see here. So earlier, this morning, I was 95% with a pulse rate of 76. And then later on at 2 o'clock, I was 96% and 91. And so I'll do mine here for bedtime here very shortly. I might as well just do it now, see what it is. But we'll do that. I have to do it at least 3 times a day. And, that's just the penalties you pay for making stupid decisions when you're younger. And so let me catch up. There we go. So right now I'm at 95.91. Might as well log that. And the question that I have to go in for another what do they call it? PFT, pulmonary function test. I have to go in for another one here in about a month. And the question is, do I need to have an oxygen supply with me all the time? That's going to be interesting if that happens. Absolutely, Utah Mike. And so I was just writing a letter to the guys in my group, urging them to check into changing over their flashlights and their lighting systems so that they all have either USB recharging capability, or we can recharge them with a plug-in thing, or they can use rechargeable AA's or AAA's. Because I think most people are going to be without light. If you read Selko Begovich's book, light was extremely important for the first 3 or 4 months after the downfall and during the Civil War. And then people attuned to the fact that there wasn't anything available for light. So their eyes attuned to the nighttime. I don't know. I want to keep flashlights and lights and candles for as long as I can. We'll see what happens. So Pinball put out a great one this morning. It was early this morning that I saw. I don't know. Why am I not? There we go. Okay. Let me see where we are. Where are y'all? Fantastic. Yes. So rapeseed oil is canola oil. Not only that, but Helen and I were talking last night about this whole thing about the longshoremen, and we still haven't cleaned up everything as a result of that one wreck in Baltimore, the one that took out the bridge span. So that still is causing a backup and a delay. And Baltimore is a very, very busy port. So I mean, there's all these. Remember the two Chinese colonels, okay? How the Chinese are going to destroy America, all these little bitty incidents that you can't put together. You can't say that's connected to this. They're all disparate. And, but each one takes another notch out of America's capability to produce or to defend. Did you see, I forget who mentioned it. Somebody mentioned the fact that 2 battalions of the 11th Airborne Division. Now, the 11th Airborne Division, what they did was they took the 1st Stryker Brigade of the 25th Infantry Division, and they took the 4th Brigade of the 25th Infantry Division, moved them to Alaska, and renamed them as the 1st and 2nd Brigade of the 11th Airborne Division. So now we have 3 airborne divisions: the 11th in Alaska, 82nd at Fort Bragg, I think they call it Fort Liberty now, and the 101st at Fort Campbell. So we have 3 airborne divisions now, but the 11th only has 2 brigades, and the 25th Infantry Division now only has 2 brigades. And so, but anyhow, they moved 2 battalions down to Shimya, which is, like the 3rd to the last island on the Aleutians chain. That was an active site. We had a field station there. These guys here, the Army Security Agency. We had field station Shimya listening in on Korea and China up until the earthquake of 1975 that caused a tsunami that basically washed everything off the island. But anyhow, Shimya was an active base until about 75. Now we're reactivating it. So the Aleutian Island chain, I guess we're suspecting that something is going to happen either with China or with Russia, because both of them are very close, but that's being reactivated. So I find that extremely interesting as well. That's not a bad idea. Not a bad idea at all. You could also use a vegetable peeler. I saw somebody else say up there. I have a spin ringer, and I bought that on Amazon. But they do have hand spinners, so you just put your laundry in there, spin it. It basically spins all the water out. You can also use it as a rinse tub, and then don't forget you need to have a clothesline and clothespins. I probably got 300 clothespins. I have both the original, just a hole and the friction in the V over the line holds you have to fold it over and everything. Now I also have the spring clip type. So I probably have 200 of each of those. So Mother Earth Gardens Club says 2/3 of a cup of borax, 2/3 of Arm & Hammer washing soda, and 1 bar plain ivory soap. Grated melt ivory soap with 1 quart of water, dissolve soda and borax in 4-gallon hot sink water, and add melted. Thank you. I'll have to come back and watch my own visit and copy that down. Thank you. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Same thing with the nebulizer. Got to keep those current and active. And Yes, I do. As a matter of fact, one of the things I notice is I will start when I'm praying the rosary. At times, I will start yawning, and yawning is an indication that your brain is not getting enough oxygen. So what I try to do is when the group leader is doing the first half of the Hail Mary, I'll take in a very deep breath through my nose so that I can exhale and say my part afterwards. So yes, you're absolutely correct. Deep breathing through the nose is the best way. Now, I was unable to breathe through my nose up until around 7 years ago. I went into an EENT and he went in and unblocked my nose. He did something surgically. And I mean, and when he pulled the plugs out like a week after the surgery, all of a sudden I could breathe through both sides of my nose. So I was in my late 60s, mid to late 60s, before I could breathe through my nose. So I have a habit of breathing through my mouth, and I had to teach myself how to breathe through the nose because I never could in the past. Asymmetrical warfare is absolutely correct, Scott. That's the name of the book by the two Chinese colonels is, let me just sit here for a second. I'll find it for you. Asymmetrical warfare is General, and I worked for him. I don't want Basil Pesto. How to Destroy America. China's plan. No, that's not going to show it. There we go. China's plan to destroy America. No. Oh, it is. Thank you. That you're right. I was thinking it was General Flynn's book was Unrestricted Warfare, but here we go. So he is. Who said that? That was Scott Hummer. Thank you, Scott. So let's go here. We'll do a present. Scott is absolutely correct. My apologies for even considering that, Scott. You had your poo-poo together and I didn't. So thank you. So here it is. Here's the book. Fantastic book. I strongly recommend it. Unrestricted Warfare, China's Master Plan to Destroy America. Fantastic book. So copy that down, get that book, read it, and pay attention to it. It is phenomenal. Yes, that's true. So it basically embedded itself on the bank. And so what they had to do was, and when they embedded it on the bank, the bow rose as it climbed up the bank, which of course caused that fulcrum, the rear end, to go down into the soil. And usually there's only a couple feet of clearance with most of these big tankers in the bottom of the canal. So when it got bogged down, they had to basically break it free, not only at the front, but also at the back. And so they had to channel underneath of it to get the back free. So you're absolutely right on that. So just remember one thing, Mother Earth Garden is, you're quoting Matthew 25, and that's one line out of about 18 lines. There has not been 1 year since Matthew wrote that, Matthew the tax collector, probably somewhere in the vicinity of 75 AD is when he wrote that. There has not been 1 year on the face of the earth since he wrote that there has not been a war and a rumor of war. So it's one of the verses that's most commonly taken out of context. If you read on down, I believe it's verse 42. Let me grab this. We'll go to Matthew. Matthew 24. So it says, See that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and they will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for these things must happen. But it will not yet be the end. Nation will turn against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes from place to place, and all these are the beginning of the pains. And then it says that that the end cannot come until, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached throughout the world as a witness to all nations. Then the end will come. So the wars and rumors of wars is only the beginning. Okay, so it's not the end; it's the beginning. A lot of people misinterpret that. Let me see here. We use one of the few that I can use with my allergies is Tide High Efficiency with Downy, and we like that. But we use naphtha too. Ivory bars are a safe bet, Theoxerus. Ivory, there's just nothing that anybody is allergic to in them. We have one of those bundles. I don't know, maybe a dozen bars in a bundle, the plastic sleeve of ivory bars, and we keep that in the bathroom. So I probably need to stock up more of those because that's also another one. It's a very, very good both hand and bars and bath soap. I was checking my automatic shipments from Amazon, and boy, it's going to be an expensive month coming up. Oh, wow. General Flynn, Thomas Flynn. There we go. Thank you, Diana, too. Yep. I worked for him when he was a bird colonel. My orthodontist had to splice sections into my tooth bands to make some big enough to fill my molars. Wow. Did I? Oh, thank you. It's a great book. It's a great book. And then, of course, General Flynn has fifth generation warfare, which is the counter to asymmetrical warfare. So, I mean, there's a lot of really bright people writing a lot of great stuff out there right now. And just we need to pay attention to. Oh, wow, an hour and 7 minutes. Okay, so let's get this shut down. Let me catch up. Tuck by V has a comment, and it's pretty long, so let's take a look at that. We made a batch of homemade laundry soap. It took more work and time to use. I had to pre-soak the detergent for 20 minutes. It didn't dissolve easily at all. And so what you're saying, Tuck by V, is extremely important for all of us to pay attention to. And that is a lot of these things we're going to find out are not as easy as we would like for them to be. And so we need to learn how to do them now when we have the opportunity to make corrections, so to speak. So the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verses 24, 25, 26. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord let his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord look upon you kindly and grant you, us, the world, peace. Or as we say, Agnus Dei qui peccatoris mundi dona nobis pacem. Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, grant us peace. And so, I pray that someday we can all learn how to live together. We can learn how to love each other, that we can learn how to disagree and it not turn physical, that we can accept it as a ideological, philosophical, understanding that varies from one person to another, but that we still wish the best of the other person and we don't wish them harm. And so with that, remember that we're all in this together so we can come out the other side together. And I mean that very sincerely. We are in this together, regardless of who or what you are, your ideology, philosophy, or anything else. We've got to learn to do it together. Please be kind, polite, and respectful to each other, because togetherness is the key. Take care, everybody. See you tomorrow night. Have a wonderful, safe tomorrow, and let's pray that this does not happen. Bye-bye.